Hey listeners, Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network, and I want to take just a quick moment to tell you about another show on our podcast network that I know you'll love. In Your Element, hosted by Brendan Henkel and Daniela Norden, is a podcast bridging the gap between leadership and real talk in the dynamic world of higher ed. Every episode is a deep dive into the practical side of working in higher ed, featuring real-world tips, best practices, and use cases from Element 451 users. Join our hosts as they bring on savvy IT leaders, visionary college presidents, and leading voices in the field to share their experiences and insights. From the challenges to the triumphs of higher ed, In Your Element is your source for candid discussions, innovative strategies, and the impactful use of technology, especially AI, in personalizing the student journey. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or by searching for In Your Element wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, it's Maya, and welcome back to another episode of the Hidden Gem podcast. Today, we dive into a crucial yet often overlooked aspect of community colleges' success: employer branding and employee satisfaction. I'm joined by a very talented Eddie Francis, who is a brand strategy consultant, speaker, leadership enthusiast, and award-winning broadcaster. He is also a host of the podcast called I Wanna Work There, one of Hannon Hill's best higher ed podcasts of 2024. And in this podcast, we'll unpack the secrets of employer branding and share practical strategies you can use right away. Because let's face it, the people who work at your college and the vibe they create are what truly set your institution apart. So get ready for a conversation that could shift your perspectives and help amplify your college's success. Welcome to The Hidden Gem, your go-to podcast that shines a spotlight on the strategic role of marketing and communications in shaping the future of community colleges. I'm your host, Maya Dimishkovich, CMO at Carroll Community College. Every week, I sit down with community college leaders and industry experts to unpack strategies that work. We'll discuss practical insights and success stories to help you elevate your institution's profile and achieve your strategic goals. Tune in to amplify your community college's success, one conversation at a time. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. And let's get started. Hi, Eddie, and welcome to the Hidden Gem podcast.
Thank you for having me, Maya. I appreciate being here and I appreciate the invitation. Let's chat.
I know, I'm so excited, and I was thrilled to meet you in person at the CoopRep conference yesterday, just in time before our podcast. How amazing is that?
Yeah, it is. It's very cool. Yeah, it was great meeting you in person too, and I'm excited about your podcast because I really think that you are having a conversation that needs to be had in higher ed about community colleges and making sure that community colleges are marketed in a more robust way. So, I mean, congratulations to you, first of all, and welcome to the Enrollify family.
Yay! Thank you so much. It means a lot. Means a lot. And you have your podcast as well. You've been doing it for a while, and it's called I Wanna Work There. And when I heard your podcast, I'm like, oh my God, he's doing such a great job raising awareness about issues that, I don't know, in community college sector, we don't talk a lot, and that's employer branding, that's the organizational culture and recruiting strategies, and how to attract talent to your institution, and how to be that employer of choice for prospective employees, right? It's an important topic.
It is. And, but it makes sense, though, because I've worked at a 4-year commuter university. And when I was there, the university was almost 50 years old. They didn't have to market themselves because people would naturally just come to the university from the community because they knew that was the next step. And so for community colleges, it makes sense, that it's just the next step for people who want to attend the community college. The community college looks at the attendance and says, okay, we have a lot of folks here. We have to get our faculty and staff together. And so they just go out, they hire. And so it makes perfect sense that employer branding is one of those things that just now a lot of folks are really starting to consider, given the Great Resignation and COVID and all of that other stuff that came together a few years ago. So I can completely understand where we are right now with this inflection point. So your podcast is right on time too. It is definitely right on time.
Right. Yeah. So when I think about employer branding, and I mean employees in general, this is your biggest, most important asset. And I think before we got on this call, and before we started doing this recording, I shared with you that the premise behind this podcast, The Hidden Gem, is to demonstrate the value of marketing communications in community college settings and how we can impact different areas of the college and different factors that lead to the success of the institution. And I created this framework that our listeners can find in show notes. It's called the Impact Framework. And one of the factors that is a huge contributor to the success of the organization is the quality faculty and staff. Because without them, who is going to teach students? Who is going to be doing things? So it could actually be your biggest competitive advantage if you have happy, engaged faculty who are eager to teach our students, who create this vibe and culture on campus where everyone wants to be. So taking care of your people, to me, is crucial to the success of the institution.
It is. There are two things I always like to start with. And one thing is, we say this all the time, the most important resource is the human resource. If that's the case, then you need to treat the most important resource like they are the most important resource. The second thing, though, is, and this is the premise of I Want to Work There, is it's a simple premise. You want high student satisfaction, and so you need the people who are going to deliver that high student satisfaction. And so the whole premise of even thinking about your impact framework, the whole idea that you really need to find the quality talent that's going to deliver what the college needs to deliver so that the students have a memorable experience, so that their investment is worth it. And I really want us to think carefully about this, especially in community colleges, because community colleges are very important anchors in their local communities, right? Whether they're rural or urban, they are such important anchors. And there's so much local investment. There's local investment out not only from the student side, but there's local investment from the faculty and staff side. And so I think it's really worth it for colleges to think about how important it is to find the people who are going to deliver the kind of service that the people who are investing in this community college experience are. And it's not just the students, as you know, Maya, it's also industry. It's your industry partners who are depending on the right faculty and staff to be in place to deliver on the promises, to deliver on the services, to deliver the students, to deliver the impact to the community and to the state. I'm down in New Orleans, and in New Orleans, we have Delgado Community College. A lot of folks don't realize this, but Delgado Community College is one of the biggest colleges in the state. If they're not the biggest, they're number 2 behind LSU. But Delgado is a high impact institution. And so that is an example of how important, it is. And so let's think about this. If Delgado were to close down tomorrow, that would be a huge economic punch to the city of New Orleans, and it would be a huge economic punch to this region of the state because it produces so much. And so I'm glad you have your framework, because I do think that people need to take a robust look at the people, the faculty and the staff who are really, really driving the service, the ones who are producing the students, the ones who are really putting the roots down for some great industry and government partnerships. That is extremely important.
And like you said, it is important to find them, but it's also a challenge getting the best talent to apply for jobs at your institution, and once they apply, actually keeping them and making sure that they're happy, engaged, and they're able to use their talents to better your institution. So that's a challenge, I think, for many organizations, but for community colleges in particular, just because we are public institutions and we can rarely offer the most competitive compensation. Yeah. So there needs to be more to what we offer to make people want to work at community colleges. And that's my first question for you is, what do you think community colleges can offer in addition to make it a desirable place to work?
There's been research in human resources for years that has looked at what really leads to employee satisfaction. And of course, money is always going to be a factor, if not the factor. Let's be clear. People want to get paid, and they want to get paid well. That is not even a question. However, research has shown that in lieu or competitive pay, what people want is to have a great experience working where they work. So sometimes it's as simple as a thank you. A lot of times folks are going to say, you know what? I don't get paid the most to work here, but I love the people I'm around. I love the community that I'm working in. And they always find a way to thank me, even if it's some kind of award, even if it's something like a luncheon or a dinner or something. There's always a way to do that. And so I would say for community colleges, I think it's very important to consider what the value of the experience is. And believe me, there is value. I know there are people who would say, well, I don't know. I don't think we really have much of a value working here. And that's not true, because you have people who have probably been there for years. There's a reason they've been there for years. There's some sort of commitment. There's some sort of pull there for them as far as working there. There's some reason they keep putting their feet on the floor, and then they keep going to their classes, or they keep going to the offices to work. And I know that for the cynics, sometimes it's like, well, they probably don't have anywhere else to go. And, I would challenge that. I would say there's definitely something. And I think the important thing for colleges to do, number one, is to conduct and collect employee data. Find out what the value of the experience is. Because that is going to tell you everything you need to know. Even the bad news is going to tell you everything you need to know. And I would encourage administrations to not assume that they know what employees think just because they've spoken to a few employees out of hundreds, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing is, after you collect that employee data, is to act on that data to figure out what people find valuable about the work experience. And I think for community colleges, a lot of times, the story that might not be told as robustly as it could be told is that the people who are there probably find a lot of value in the experience of having a sense of purpose, helping a group of students getting from point A to point B. I mean, I know for me, the first time I went to a commencement and I saw someone who was 80 years old get her degree, I was standing there going, okay, I'm in the right place. I'm supposed to be here, because that meant everything to see this woman who's at 80 years old get a bachelor's degree and her family going crazy cheering for her. Those moments mean a lot to employees. And I think that's what a big draw is. I would also, the other thing is really get an idea of what community colleges can do is to really assess their culture, because there might be things about their culture that they don't even understand or don't know is even there. And so again, that sense of community. And I know that folks listen to things like sense of community and they're like, oh, well, I can get a sense of community anywhere. Well, you can, but the thing is that you're getting it here. So what does this sense of community at this college mean to you? What makes it distinct? It may not necessarily be different from a competitor or the four-year school, which is across town or that's a few miles away. It may not be different, but there's something distinct about it. And I think the distinction in that sense of community or the distinction in that culture is something that you want to go for to figure out. But there's value there. I think the job of the college itself is to figure out where the value is and why that value exists.
You're so right. Many people who work at community colleges, they do it because they like to help. They are attached to the mission, helping students change lives and change communities. But at the same time, there are other places where they can go and find the same satisfaction, right? It could be a four-year school. It could be an online school. So there are a lot of options these days. So what I'm hearing from you is it's very important to be intentional about thinking through what your current culture is, understanding where the gaps might be, figuring out what is your story that you want to tell to prospective employees, and then tell it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And continue to nurture your culture.
One type of comparison to community colleges, and some people really feel some kind of way about this, but I worked at 3 historically Black colleges and universities. And, there's an issue there as far as a lack of resources and not being able to pay as much as they can get paid at another place. Those issues are there with HBCUs. But there are people who just will not work anywhere but in HBCU. I'm one of those people. I love working at HBCUs. I love the culture of HBCUs. And I know I could easily get paid more somewhere else. But there's this strong sense of purpose about my wanting to tell the story of an institution that is specifically set up to educate and to build wealth and to create social mobility among my people, among Black people. That means a lot to me. What I often see with community colleges are people who are either tied to the local community and they care deeply about that community, or you have people who have associate's degrees or they got their start at a community college and they are frustrated and they are saying, you know what? I really wish people would understand how valuable this experience is to all these students, because it was valuable to me too. I often find that with a lot of folks who work at community colleges, they are saying, no, I want to be a part of the solution here. The other thing is, and this actually happened at one of my jobs, where I was having a conversation with HR and they're asking me, hey, I know your son is almost graduate. I know he's about to graduate from high school. Where's he going to go to school? And I said, well, we're trying to figure it out. Of course, we're trying to figure out the money part. So, we're going through it. And they said, oh, well, we have a tuition benefit, right? We have that tuition benefit and the tuition exchange program with a network of colleges. And I'm like, oh, great. How can I find the information? And they said, oh, we'll send you the link. And I said, okay, so how about, is it not on the webpage? And they said, well, no, it's not there. I said, well, why is it not there? Oh, we don't know. And I said, okay, it really needs to be on the webpage because there are people who want to work at this institution. And yes, they want to work here for a benefit like a tuition benefit for their kids. Those of us who are parents who have teenagers, we can see it coming from a mile away, right? But that's not a bad thing. And so, I'm standing there asking myself, how many people don't know about this? And how many great applicants could we get if we put this out front, and let people know this is part of the experience of working at this institution? And so one of the things that community colleges can do is, I think a lot of community colleges could take a look at those benefits that a lot of people don't even know about on campus. And it happens everywhere, right? 4-year colleges, 2-year colleges, everywhere you have these employees walking around going, I had no idea that I had this benefit. And it could be the smallest thing. On an upcoming episode of I Want to Work There, I'll be talking to a university that did an employer branding campaign. And they said that one of the benefits that a lot of employees did not know about was that they could get a free subscription to the New York Times through the university library. Well, that meant a lot. That means a lot to these employees. And so what kinds of benefit? And the other thing is this, what kind of benefits can you create? I mean, for a community college, to me, a winning benefit would be to have partnerships with businesses throughout the communities so that employees could have discounts. I like to eat, so if I'm working at a community college and they tell me, oh yeah, here's a list of restaurants, and you show them your college ID and you'll get a discount. If you tell me that, then I'm sitting there going, oh well, that's actually really cool. I think I would work there for that, or at least that would be part of a pull. Because who doesn't like a discount at a restaurant, right? So, and other discounts, local auto shops, that sort of thing. I think community college is really working on that sort of thing. And those are quick turnaround solutions, I think. I think things like that could really draw people in.
Hey, it's Mallory. Exciting news. I'm hosting the Engage Summit in Raleigh on June 25th and 26th, and I'd love to meet you there. Together, we'll dive into the mind of the modern student, what fires them up, how they interact, and what they expect in today's digital age, and how tools like AI help put them in the driver's seat of their education. We have some terrific speakers, including our closing keynote, New York Times best-selling author Jeff Selingo. Sessions will dig into practical ideas and innovative strategies to get your team more student-centered and ready to adopt AI. And many of your favorite Enrollify hosts are presenting too, like Jamie Hunt, Jenny Lee Fowler, and Brian Gross. Use the discount code Enrollify50 for an extra $50 off your registration. Learn more and register at engage.element451.com. We can't wait to see you there.
I completely agree, and I think it's a big miss if they don't sell themselves to prospective employees and don't show all the benefits, which you often see on HR websites. You just go to the website, it's kind of boring. It just has maybe listings, maybe some benefits, and then a link to apply. Why not engage marketing communications department and say, hey, let's create this great experience from the start? Why not show what the culture looks like, what types of activities our faculty and staff get engaged in, what are the types of projects they work on, what are the events we have on campus to support our faculty and staff, and the great benefits we offer. So I think that's one of the things where marketing communications department can definitely help.
I always say this. I always say that the magic partnership for a lot of colleges and universities when it comes to employer branding is the HR team. And I think it starts with the HR team because they have all of the information, they have the insight, they have the applicant pool and all of that good stuff. But then definitely marketing communications is part of that. And the other partnership is whoever houses institutional data, if it's institutional effectiveness or whatever office it is at that respective college. I think all three of those teams getting together and working together creates a great situation. I think one thing internally that colleges really need to think about also is I think they need to be very solid on their institutional value proposition. So this is where the partnership with marketing and communications really comes in. Understanding what that institutional value proposition is, obviously the mission of the institution, the brand of the institution, whatever that brand is. But then there's one thing that a lot of folks I think don't like to talk about, Maya, and that would be what are the core values of the institution? And I think a lot of folks don't like to talk about it because when you really take a look at what core values are really tied to institutional behaviors, the behaviors of the faculty and staff and the administration, but it's also tied to the way people make decisions at the institution. That affects your employer brand, because what you don't want is you don't want to say, this is our mission and this is why we're so great. And then some employee runs across some unethical practice happening, and then boom, they're on Glassdoor, they're on Indeed, they're on LinkedIn, and they're saying, don't work at this place. This place is rotten, Or they'll go to Twitter, and of course, I refuse to call it X. I'm going to call it Twitter. Or even more so, we have Gen Z in the workforce now. And what's Gen Z going to do? Gen Z is going to make a video talking about why it is so horrible to work at this place. They're going to hit TikTok with it. They're going to hit Instagram with it. They're going to hit YouTube Shorts. They're going to go someplace with it and talk about their horrible experience. Now, conversely, you could also, I think, Maya, this is also something, a strategy to consider, or a tactic to consider, is faculty and staff user-generated content. And again, I think this is where you can leverage the talents and the skill and the energy of Gen Z saying, I just started working at this community college. Let me tell y'all what I did not realize was a great thing about working here. I think that's great as well. I think having a generation of new blood to bring some new energy and some new ideas, and that's something to leverage. But I do think that really taking a look at the core values of the institution, and if you don't have core values, then you should probably create some core values, because the way you behave in the workplace and the way that you make decisions in the workplace, that will affect your employer brand. What really affects, I think, a community college, because it is locally based, is word of mouth. And so I think that's the other thing, Maya. I mean, figure out how to create that word of mouth campaign that can really get folks out there saying, hey, listen, we know that you value this about working at our college. What we need you to do is, when you get out in the community and you have an opportunity to say something about the value of working here, please say something. If you hear mis or disinformation about this college, please say something. I think word of mouth is a very powerful thing, especially in the case of a community college, because it's locally based.
Right. These are some excellent advice for many community colleges to consider when thinking about employer branding. It also made me feel good because at my college, we do many of those. Recently, picking up values, we took our college's values and we created a huge wall with the values on it. So now faculty and staff and students walk by this wall almost every day. And it reminds them who we are, what our purpose is, what we value, how we make decisions. And it's a beautiful piece of art too. So it's just visually very appealing. And we're proud of it.
What's really good about that is that I know the cynics are going to say, oh goodness, indoctrination. Well, yes, it is, but what it is indoctrinating people to a culture that means something that's positive, a culture that is designed to help people get from point A to point B in their lives. But let's play this out. So let's say you have that faculty member that could be making more at the four-year institution, a few miles away or in the next state or whatever. And let's say they're getting heavily recruited because they do such a good job where they are. There's a good chance that you may lose that faculty member. But what you want is that faculty member to say, I really don't want to leave this place because I love it here and I love the work I do here. And I'm going to go to this next place. I'm going to accept this next offer. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find some of the best faculty I can to come work at this college where I used to work, because I loved working there and I want them to be there. That is a powerful, powerful way to market the institution. And so that's why I think with a community college, word of mouth is probably the most powerful thing that you have. But I think to have, your values literally on the wall and to make it aesthetically pleasing, I think is a great move, because yes, people are reminded, but it also gives people a North Star. And it gives people that purpose, and it reminds them of that purpose, and it reminds them of why they're there. It reminds them of what makes that place special. And yes, you're gonna lose some people you don't want to lose. But what you want to do is you want to send them away with a great taste in their mouth about the experience that they had at the college. And so hopefully what you've done is something that can really help achieve that.
Another thing I liked what you said about digital presence and how it's becoming more and more important, especially with younger generations. And of course, what is the best place people go to check out before they accept a job offer? Usually it's LinkedIn, usually it's Glassdoor. They Google and look at maybe a new supervisor or the leadership of the college. So for people to see who works at the college, what they share on social media or anywhere else, can make or break the new hire acceptance.
It absolutely can. So I will tell you that, in many, many instances when I've been recruited for jobs, the very first group that I would look up is the administration, because I would want to know who the president is or who the chancellor is. I'd want to know who the cabinet, who's on the cabinet. I want to know about the board too. I want to know about all of these folks. And then of course I'm going to want to take a look at who's in some of the other areas. But I am one of those people. I am very, very interested in who the leaders are and what they care about and how they present themselves and that sort of thing. They don't necessarily have to be on social media, but for me, I just want to have an idea of who they are, and what they care the very most about. And I can tell you that is something that is definitely happening. It is not just a Gen Z thing. It's not just a millennial thing. It's definitely a Gen X thing. And for baby boomers who are still in the workforce, maybe they do and maybe they don't care about that sort of thing. But I can tell you that people who are looking at prospective positions, they're taking a look at it. I think something that is really important to consider here is, you have the annual Edelman Trust Barometer. And one of the things they take a look at is how people in government and business are trusted by the population. Well, for the past few years, the Trust Barometer has said that generally people don't trust their leaders, especially in government and especially in institutions. They do trust business leaders. I think that was a new wrinkle with the most recent barometer, that there's a trust of business leaders and there's a hope that business can really impact innovation in society. But I bring that up because a lot of times when job seekers are looking at leaders, they're looking with a bit of doubt, and they're wondering, are these people I can trust? Because yes, the president of the college just got up and gave this great speech. It was an awesome speech. Is that person really who they say they are? And so they are taking very, very deep and detailed looks at these people a lot of times. And, this is where my having been a Marcom director, this is where I really get into stuff about the website and making sure the right kinds of content is on the website. I think literally showing, this is something that I think a Marcom and an HR team can team up on and do right away. Going around campus, taking pictures of faculty and staff in their natural element. Pictures of faculty and staff interacting with students in a very natural way. Candid shots. Shots of laughter, shots of really, really introspective moments, shots that are not staged. I think when you can get those really candid shots and you can share those shots, first of all, on the HR webpage, where you can really express the culture, but then on social media, where you can have that candid moment between the president and the student who just started. And that student is 40 years old and they're really trying to get their lives going and they're trying to get back. They're trying to get that promotion at work, and they know the key to doing this is to go back to school. Having those candid moments, I think, is great. I think another thing that HR and Marcom teams can team up on right away is getting student testimonials about how great the faculty and staff are to them. I think that's something that draws in faculty and staff as well. That draws in some quality applicants as well. Because again, you have people who are saying, man, I want to do that. I want to be the difference in somebody's story. So I think those kinds of tactics is while I'm mentioning this while I'm thinking about it, in addition to having that quality leadership, I think that can really help boost the employer brand. But I will say every college has an employer brand. They just have to figure out how to bring it out and how to express it.
I appreciate you sharing so many great tactics that people can take and go and apply right away, because you don't want to wait. Start now.
Yeah, no, you really don't. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cost effective.
It is. And let me tell you something. This season of I Want to Work There, I've built it on talent attraction, talent experience, and talent retention. Those are three things that I think any college should really, really think about. How to be attractive to people who want to apply. But then also giving people on campus a great experience. Now, is everybody going to be 100% happy? No, absolutely not. Not everybody's going to be 100% happy. But if you can collect data on employee satisfaction and see that there is a consistency in the value of the experience of working at that institution, that gives you a lot to work with. And then figuring out what it means to retain employees. The numbers and the length of time, that's different for every single college. Some colleges know that they can keep people for 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. Other colleges, they know they're going to keep people for 2 to 3 years, and that's okay too. I think just having an idea of what that looks like and what succession planning looks like when it comes to leadership positions, when it comes to critical faculty positions, I think those are all the factors that come in to making sure that you have a robust and a competitive employer brand. And the other thing I want to leave with is take a look at your core values and assess the culture, assess the work culture of the institution, because you cannot put those nice, cool pictures on the website or in social media if it's a lie. You just can't do it, So I think taking an honest look and working from there, because if you understand the culture, then you'll understand what kinds of images work. You'll understand what kinds of testimonials work. You'll understand a lot of that stuff.
I think we gave our community colleges leaders and HR professionals and marketing professionals a lot to think about and consider, and I hope they take it seriously and go right away and start implementing or putting this on their strategic plan, maybe for next year, to be more intentional and strategic about how they manage their employer brand, because it will impact the institution for years to come. It's not it's not a one-time thing you just do and it works. It's an ongoing strategic effort that we need to be thoughtful and intentional about. And I thank you, Eddie, so much for sharing your great insights and strategies and tactics. And for anyone who have not listened to Eddie's podcast, please go check it out. It has a lot more information about this particular topic if you want to dive deeper. And, if you are serious about your essential, valuable asset, which are your people. Yes. So thank you, Eddie.
You are very much welcome, and I'll leave you with something that Benny Johnson, the CEO of the American Marketing Association, said on episode 12 of I Want to Work There. Your employees are your first and best customers. I believe that wholeheartedly. I agree with him wholeheartedly. So thank you so much for having me on. And I'm wishing you the very best on your podcast, too. Keep doing a great job. Thank you so much, Maya.
Thank you, Eddie. And that's a wrap on today's episode. I hope that now, as you think about the brand of your community college, you not only consider how students view the college, but also consider employer branding, which shapes the perceptions of current and prospective employees. I truly hope that this conversation helped you understand the importance of cultivating both of these facets of branding to enhance the institution's overall reputation and appeal. And please do me a favor, do not delay implementing the strategies you learned today. Until next time, let's continue amplifying the success of community colleges together, one conversation at a time. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. Let's keep this conversation going on LinkedIn at Maya Dimishkovich. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, and suggestions for what you'd like to see next on this podcast. Remember, by tuning in to The Hidden Gem, you're not just listening to a podcast, you are joining a movement of amplifying community colleges' success. Don't miss out. Subscribe to this podcast and notifications about our future episodes. Share it with your colleagues and college leaders to help make our colleges stand out. Together, let's make an impact. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you will like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher education technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Jenny Fowler, Eddie Francis, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.